Simon Pegg, der Scotty spielt. Weiter geht's. Please take a seat right here. Weiter geht's mit Carl Urban alias Dr. McCoy oder bei uns besser bekannt als Pille. Eric Bana spielt den Bösewicht Nero. Herzlich willkommen. Chris Pine ist Captain James T. Kirk. Und hier kommt der eigentliche Steuermann des Raumschiff Enterprise, der Regisseur J.J. Abrams. Zachary Quinto als Spock. Zoe Saldana als Uhura. Und last but not least, John Cho als Zulu. That was a nice welcome. Welcome to Berlin. Thank you all for being here. JJ, let's get the... I'm over here on the left side. Hey. Hi, JJ. Let's get the press conference started. First of all, you saw the first Star Trek movie in 1979 with your dad. Now, 30 years later, you're basically presenting the reboot of the franchise. What kind of feeling is it?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for welcoming us here to Berlin. We're thrilled to be here and really appreciate your welcome. It's a very surreal experience to be involved in something that is so iconic. And I feel very lucky to have done it with this group. And as someone who is not a huge Trek fan to begin with, I've become one. And it's mostly because I've discovered, a little bit late, their fans pre-existed me for quite a while, but I've discovered how brilliant what Gene Roddenberry created really is.
Thank you. Fragen? Hier vorne gleich der Herr mit der Mütze.
Okay, hi. This goes to the panel. I don't want to rain on your crazy parade, but I want to kick off with something serious. You are all action figures now. Are you happy with the looks of them? Will you play with them? Have you played with them? Who is upset by them? This is your chance now to kick some ass.
I play with myself a lot. It's not on. Is this thing on? Yes, I play with myself a lot. It wasn't a good joke in the first place, and I had to say it twice. Mine's better than me. Anyone else?
Anyone else want to comment?
Can you hear? Guten Tag. Wie geht's? Wie geht? Good. Okay. No, it's almost like having an experience outside of yourself when you see this little figurine, and then it's no different than watching a film that you're in. The first take, you're criticizing everything about your physical appearance, and then the second time you see the movie, you're actually seeing everything, the entire thing, the story, the cinematography, and then you love it. And so I thought that my doll had really skinny legs, but that's okay.
Weitere Fragen? Der Herr dort hinten, dann kommen wir hier vorne hin mit der Brille, da hinten.
Hello, everyone. I have a question to all of the actors. Is contributing to the new Star Trek movie just a job, or means it more to you, especially if you know about the more than 30 years background of the Star Trek franchise?
Okay, I'll take a shot.
Check.
Oh, that sounds good. Taking this job had special significance for me in one respect. When I was a child, an immigrant from South Korea to the United States in the late 70s, I, as an Asian American, I wasn't particularly pleased with what was on television. people with faces like me weren't represented particularly well, but George Takei and the show was a real exception. It was a spectacular exception, and it was such a positive portrayal and a positive show. And so it was extremely meaningful for me to watch him then as a boy, and it's really meaningful for me to follow in his footsteps.
I can speak to that. Check. I can speak to that as well, having the great pleasure and honor to work directly with Leonard. So for me, even though I think the character is magnetic and complex and interesting in its own right, to get to know the man that brought him to life and had such an incredible experience with him for over 40 years, and to really sort of have the torch be passed from him to me was an incredible honor that I'm sure will remain so for the rest of my career and in life.
Chris?
All right, I'm up. I think what appeals to me and what I found a great appreciation in once I started watching the series is that, when the first series came out in the late 60s, the world was, racked with, at least America, with civil division, social division, two wars. And I think it presented a vision of humanity where on the deck of the ship you have a Russian, you have a Scotsman, you have an African-American woman, a Japanese-American, all working together. I think it shows what's possible when many people from disparate backgrounds work together, and I think that's the vision of humanity that we present in this newest incarnation. I think will hopefully resonate in a world similarly racked by much strife and war and the like.
Well, as everyone has mentioned, there were all these great characters and cast members from all these different countries. However, there were no Australians. That was my main motivation for doing Nero.
Guten Tag. I had a long-standing deep appreciation for Star Trek. I watched the original show as a boy, and to me, I was always drawn more to this sort of cult of personality than the element of science fiction. I think that the vision that Gene Roddenberry created back in the mid-'60s is such a positive note. This utopian society that had evolved beyond internal conflict and was striving to explore space, and I think that's part of the enduring appeal of Star Trek. And for me, it was a real honor and a pleasure to take on such an iconic role that was so wonderfully developed by the late Mr. Kelly.
Absolutely, what they said. It wasn't a job for me, not least because I didn't get paid. I only found out that they did yesterday. I paid JJ a small fee to be in this film. But it was an awesome honor to be part of this because I've watched it since I was a child, and not only to be part of the story, but to be able to act alongside Leonard and do scenes with a character that I've known since I was a child. Not just the actor, but the character. To be in context with him was extraordinary, and as for everybody here, was a complete labor of love. So I would like some money at some point, though. Just let's put that out there.
Der Herr hier vorne, bitte. Das Gästemikro hier vorne. Einfach laut sein.
First of all, the crew did such an amazing job. Is it props or the creative crew? The set construction. From the lighting to the gadgets and everything, it all looks so real. And And the lighting was excellent for actors. We were loving it too. And if only the gadgets worked, we would have been in complete heaven. But it was a very awesome space for us to work in. And they were, whenever you shoot a movie, the first camera shot is usually like the master, and it's the only time that the actors get the opportunity to do a scene from the beginning to the end. Because then the moment they start pushing in and doing closer angles, then it's just that part that actor needs to do or whatever, and that's the part that feels sort of theatrical, because you do a scene from the beginning to the end, and there were seconds, the first seconds of starting to shoot the master in the Enterprise. I found myself believing this could really happen, this could really be us, because after extensive rehearsal, we would all get together, and there was that one take where everybody was in sync and everybody was on it, and Spock was communicating, and Sulu was driving that ship, and it was just, I'm like, oh my God, I can really make believe that we are in space, except there's a green screen outside.
It was a very peculiar feeling to be on that bridge, because it was spectacular, and it was very emotional for me walking on. I know Carl didn't care at all. He's very blasé about things like that. But but it was a really peculiar feeling, because it's something that and it's something that's it's a completely new take at the same time, and it kept repeating itself throughout the course of our experiences. Just you're looking at things that are at once familiar and completely new, and I think that's probably the experience of watching the movie. Wow, I really tied that together.
You did fantastically. Es tut mir leid, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Ich möchte Ihnen sagen, John Cho sprechen kein Deutsch. Du bist ein Dummkopf, John.
Danke, Carl.
Du
Danke.
stinkst. Aber ich liebe dich. Danke.
He only said nice words, John.
I have a memory of the first time I stepped on board the bridge in my uniform. I tapped JJ on the shoulder and basically said, "Watch," and stepped onto the bridge, and because it was such a massive moment. It was actually through the front window, but it still felt very, very good.
JJ, because that was a very important question. If you look at most of the movies that are done nowadays, they do them in front of the green screen or blue screen, and you did most of the shooting on actual sets. Was that important for you to get that vibe, because everyone talks about it? I mean, was that your initial feeling on doing Star Trek?
I knew that it was going to be a movie that had a ton of computer-generated effects, and I wanted as much as possible to shoot on sets. So we found locations, we built sets as much as we could, and we shot on film, and it was really a ship, and I just wanted to stay away from, as much as possible, the green screen work.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest locations with gigantic space I think I've ever been in. But it's amazing because it adds a real scope and epic scale to Star Trek, which perhaps has not been previously present in other productions.
Der Herr mit dem blauen T-Shirt, genau.
Doesn't work?
Yeah.
Does it work? Okay. This is a question for Mr. Quinto. I hope to pronounce your name in the right way. How was it like for you to meet Leonard Nimoy, who played the first Spock? Did he give you some advice, and was he satisfied with your performance and so on?
It was incredible to meet Leonard. Although our first meeting left me a little quizzical, we were in an elevator at Comic-Con, which is where we announced that I'd be playing the role and that he'd be in the movie. It was similar to a panel like this, except there were 6,000 people in this hall, and it was my first experience with Star Trek, and there was a lot of energy around it. We were crammed in this elevator. There was a very slow-moving elevator. It was going up, and there was a lot of hustle and bustle, and I was sort of casually introduced to him in the elevator. And then the elevator doors opened, and we were all ushered out, and as soon as the doors opened, before he walked out, he just looked at me and said, "You have no idea what you're in for, kid," and then he just was off. And I was like, but subsequently then, we became friends through this process, which is probably the most valuable aspect of the relationship that I had with him. He's an incredible man. His life is an actor, a director, a writer, a photographer. He's an amazing art collection. He's a consummate artist, and is inspiring. I feel like if I can live half as full a life as he has, then I'll be in good stead.
Die Dame da vorne.
Sanne from Startrek.de. I've got a question to all of the crew. I was wondering, you guys have now inherited somehow Star Trek from your predecessors, like from William Shatner and so on. Did you guys know what you were in for before meeting the fans and everything? Did you know what was going to happen? No.
Leonard made it very clear that I didn't know what I was in for, so we'll see if that changes.
Simon, do you want to comment on?
I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan myself. I've long been a bit of a geek, and I've been to conventions, and so I have an idea of what it is. I'm always impressed by the love and dedication that this story gets from people. It's so beloved, and I hope that we join that belovation. I made up a word. It's important, and whereas even though we want people to come to this story who've never even who haven't experienced it before, it's very important to us that the people who already exist as fans also take us on board. It's a big ask, I think, because we're so used to seeing those original faces who brought these characters to life so brilliantly. But Star Trek was always about the characters, not about the actors, and hopefully that will be borne out with this amazing film.
Hier vorne der Herr einmal.
Hello, my name is Christian from Bruno Metzger Publisher. Mr. Abrams, as a long-time fan, at first I have to say thank you for bringing back Star Trek. It's an amazing movie. How hard is it to find young, talented actors who can follow the footsteps of the original cast?
Thank you for your kind words. It was very easy. No, I'm kidding. Is extraordinary. And we were very, very lucky. I thought that the hardest role to cast would be Spock. For some reason, I thought, how are we ever going to... And the first person we cast was Zachary. He walked into the room, and I was just, it was just amazing. Talking to him, he asked great questions. I knew his work, but somehow when I met him, I realized this was it. And we were very lucky to find him so early on. And the last person to cast was Chris. We were looking like crazy. And Chris, in the early stages had sort of come in, and we saw 1 million people, and it was so hard to find someone. And Chris came in the second time and actually was good the second time. Because the first time, I'll show you. Let's watch. So good. And not only, was he talented and, good looking and all that stuff, but he's funny. And that was very important to me, that all the characters have wit, because the show, it's been around long enough. It's been mocked and made fun of very popularly in many places so many times that it was important that we have a sense of humor, built in. And that was something that Chris and certainly the rest of the cast had as well.
Wir haben leider nur noch Zeit für eine Frage. Der Herr hat schon das Mikrofon.
So this is for Chris Pine. Hi, I'm Emmanuel from Munich. How did you prepare for the role to be Captain James T. Kirk? And what was the most difficult thing for you shooting the movie?
They had on hand all of the original series on the remastered series. So I started watching the first season pretty intently, and then kind of midway or 3/4 through doing that, I found myself kind of obsessing more about how to create the perfect William Shatner impression, and less about, whatever positive things I could glean from immersing myself in the world. So I kind of put that aside. It was more about having a conversation with JJ about what kind of balance to strike between bringing something new to the part and what little things I could do to pay homage to what Mr. Shatner had done. And I felt it would be clearly a mistake if I tried to, imitate any of the things that Mr. Shatner did so well, or any of the things that clearly made, Captain Kirk his. But with that being said, I did try to, little tiny things that had resonated with me while I watched the first season. And there's things about his, how he carries himself on the ship, his kind of physical presence, these kind of things that JJ and I talked about throughout filming. What things we could kind of pop and I don't know, flavor my performance with Mr. Shatner.
Thank you very much, meine Damen und Herren. Es tut uns sehr leid, wir haben leider keine Zeit mehr für weitere Fragen. Vielen Dank für Ihre Fragen. Einen wunderschönen Nachmittag. Oh, Karl, you would like to say something?
Ja, ich möchte sagen, Star Trek ist zurück. Es ist wunderbar und wir hoffen, Ihnen gefällt unser Film. Vielen Dank.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Karl. Meine Damen und Herren, Simon Pegg, Karl Urban, Eric Bana, Chris Pine, J.J. Abrams, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, and John Cho. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Simon.